Let's peer into the future, shall we? Let's get a little bit of predictions on silver. The one person, like I've stated many times before, is who I really trust is Mark Faber, Jim Rogers too. And I look at the silver pundits right now. Everybody's pretty quiet for the most part, and you know what that's telling me? This is the final time for real that silver is going to be anywhere near these range. Even though it's got more of a slide, it's going to probably go down to 24, 25 is what I was thinking. It's going to solidly go below 26. But that depends upon the timing of QE3, which I think is coming up. I know I read some stories in various publications about QE3, is it coming up or is it not coming up? And whoever they talk to in the Federal Reserve is not going to say anything to upset the markets. So they're making it sound like it's not coming up, but I think it is. But possibly Mark Faber hints at this too. I don't know what he's saying exactly, because he will not. I think, some people are suspecting he probably knows more than he lets on, but he can't let on everything. He can't. But this person has a conscience. That's the difference I could tell between him and a lot of other people. Actually, I say Mark Faber has more of a conscience than some of the silver people, but I don't want to be too harsh, but I have to go by where I'm getting the best information from. And Mark Faber predicts massive wealth destruction. One reason we're holding silver, even though right now it looks like massive wealth destruction in silver, depending on when you bought it, it goes massive wealth destruction through hyperinflation, social unrest, credit collapse, or war. Credit collapse, right? Now, credit collapse of governments, basically. That's what's going to happen. The basic premise is correct. Silver's an excellent investment. Now, I don't know why I would ever listen to anybody in the silver market, because they seem to pump it up when it's high, and they go ahead and, I don't know. I mean, they're basically like, you got to do the opposite of whatever they tell you to, but still buy the silver for now. But when it's going to pump up and get probably over 70 this year, it's probably going to do something crazy, because QE is probably more around the corner than you think. He goes on with two good lines, basically. This is from the Business Insider, something I respect far more than a lot of information that we get from, the alternative media. This is actually a major media source. Mark Faber was on CNBC this morning, peddling his standard gloom. He had two good lines. He says, the number one thing is, where can I avoid losing the most money? Not so much where can I make the most money, where can I avoid losing the most money? He then predicted that the end game of all this quantitative easing will be massive wealth destruction through some combination of hyperinflation, credit collapse, social unrest, and war. Now, I want to point out with war actually can make, that is a serious gamble. And you know what's coming up, the war with Iran. People don't want to hear this, and whatever, but it's coming up. It's coming up. It's coming up pretty soon. There's a number of things, too many things indicating that it's coming up soon. But they're never going to hint when things will actually happen. But, what that thing is, that is actually a major gamble, because if, the United States won't lose a war with Iran, obviously, but if it comes to a point where some severe damage happened to, or say an aircraft carrier went to the bottom of the ocean, in that case, with all the loss of life and the aircraft carrier and the prestige of the United States damaged, that could actually set in motion faster economic collapse and more, downturn for the dollar, the U.S. dollar. It's a matter of the outcome of a war with Iran could make a major difference. And, people don't think about these things, but, look at World War II. I mean, the Bretton Woods Agreement wouldn't have happened if World War II was not won by the United States, and the U.S. dollar would not have been the world reserve currency if the war was not won by the United States. So, a war can actually make the outcome of the financial collapse become sooner or much later. It looks like inevitable that the financial collapse of the dollar is going to come about at some point. But the sky does not have to be falling every single year. Same message over and over and over again. I don't think the dollar is going to collapse this year, even if the war with Iran does not go well. It's not going to be that fast. But it will speed things up if that occurs. Now, Mark Farber also goes into something very recently, too. This is from May 24th, and basically, not about 5 days ago. I'll post the links where this was. He says that market crash, in other words, in the S&P, will likely happen without massive QE. He says that a crash like in 1987, because the market would be technically very weak, I would expect the market making a new high. If it happens, it would be a new high with very few stocks pushing it up, and the majority of stocks already rolled over. The earnings outlook is not particularly good because most economies in the world are slowing down. People focused on Greece, but Greece is completely irrelevant. What is relevant is two countries, China and India, because they got 2.5 billion people combined, and they're actually slowing down, and that's causing a lot less goods to be consumed. So that's slowing down the economy, China and India. He says that with regards to the S&P, if you see it drop another 100 to 150 points, you're probably going to see Ben Bernanke come in there with QE. And that's almost like timing a little bit with the metals. Like the metals are down today, but I think the S&P's up a little bit today. But, generally speaking, all the markets kind of run together. But the S&P has been down in the last month. So, had a little bit of a bounce today, but let's assume that it goes down a little bit further, and you see silver go down below 26, gold go to maybe 1,500, possibly a little bit below. That's when Ben Bernanke is going to do the QE for real, QE3 for real. And once he does that, that's when everything's going to take off. Now, combine that with what's going on in China. China's actually devaluing its appreciating its currency. So that's going to cause the dollar to devalue. So let us assume what will happen after that. It's going to basically push silver up to a record high. But my caution is this. I'm going to take fiat dollars and get out of this physical silver and try to judge when a pullback occurs. It's pretty easy to tell in some ways because I'm just going to look at what various people are saying that are the actual typical silver pundits and watch every word they say. Because my laser vision is now on full and I can pretty much tell what the hell is going on. I'm not going to do this through analysis of charts or anything like that. It's going to be the tone of the silver pundits in particular and what people say. I'm going to read between the lines because actually there are a few people that do understand what's going on in these markets. And I could pick up, been around these type of people before, and man, they could play it cool. They could play it cool. So I think silver almost definitely is going to hit a record high this year. That's what the curveball is. It doesn't seem like it. And people basically want to hear this if they're invested in silver, but I think it is going to be reality. We still got some more of a slide down first, but that's going to also trigger QE. And once QE comes in play, I can't wait for this. I can't wait for the S&P to drop a few hundred points. Let silver drop. Let gold drop. Let them all drop. He's going to do QE, and it's going to make up for lost time. That's what's going to do it. So combine that with them appreciating the yuan in China, and we're going to have a massively good year for silver. That's the reality of it, actually. That's not really, but I'm going to sell off because I know what's going to happen. It's going to get ahead of itself. People will be cussing you out. You're going to take fiat. You're going to take fiat. Yes, with the intention of buying it back cheaper.